FUT Champions Cup 3, I remember just picking up where I'd left off and continuing my good form. Through the normal phase of the tournament, I managed to go 9-0 again, which made me either the first or the second player to go 9-0 throughout the year. I think after my top 3, I was ranked number 1 in EU at the time. So people were definitely starting to sit up and come for my head or have a target on my back. I don't really know the best way of saying it. However, in the finals, I met my match. Now, before the FUT Champions Cup 3 finals, I was aware of how good Levi de Word was because I'd seen him play throughout the year. I'd played against him in FIFA 20 and I've been keeping an eye on him and I was expecting a very good game, but I don't think I was quite prepared for what he was going to do to me. But seriously, on that day, Levi actually outclassed me twice. I remember the first one, he kept the ball really, really well, which I found frustrating. I then played Andoni in the losers final to get a second chance at playing Levi. Managed to win that. And then in the final, I actually bottled like a 3-0 lead and lost 4 or 5-3 to Levi in the end. So that was the first time in FIFA 21 where I felt like I had someone matching me or getting very, very close to me. And yeah, I'd begun to get a little bit frustrated losing FUT Champions Cup 2 the way I did and then losing FUT Champions Cup 3. I did start to doubt myself then.
Right, Thomas, talk to me about playing in the E-Premier League and playing for England this year.
That is just madness. Like, listen to what you just said. Playing for Spurs and playing for England. If there's two things that I wanted to do in my life, it was that. Obviously, I'd rather play from football, but we've never got down to that route. We're FIFA players now. And yeah, it's incredible, really. I think the Spurs thing come around because the previous year, me and Shorey had decided to go for the same team at Watford, but they got relegated. And I kind of said to Shorey, I feel ready to try and play for Spurs and do it for the team I support, hopefully win the second trophy. So yeah, being able to win that, play for Spurs, was absolute madness. Obviously, getting to play for England in some pretty funny circumstances. The Harry game is something that I think a lot of people will remember, where I was kind of seen as the serious guy in the game, but I think a lot of people didn't understand what was up for grabs. Not many people get to say that they've played for their country. And yeah, I beat Harry in the semi-final, beat my good mate Shells in the final as well, which was pretty mad. But overall, even during these COVID times, even though I haven't been able to go out and play at events for them, it still has been unbelievable just having the reputation of being their players, being involved with the club and country that I love. So yeah, two pretty mad things about FIFA and two things that I definitely see as a highlight of my season because they're so far out the norm. And especially like when you tell your family as well and they're just in disbelief. It is pretty incredible that I get the opportunities to do that. Actually playing in the Premier League wasn't quite the experience I wanted. I think at that part of the season, I'd hit a brick wall where I feel like I'd reached my maximum potential, and obviously losing them 2 tournaments beforehand was starting to play on my mind a little bit, and I was thinking maybe this is where I'm struggling and this is where I'm meant to be, someone that just finishes 2nd or 3rd. Premier League, I lost to Mitch of Sheffield United in the semi-final. I think I was caught out a little bit there. And then Cup 4, I think I finished top 9 to 12. And quite frankly, I got battered that day as well. So it got to the point where I'd started to doubt myself, really didn't believe that I could actually win. I knew I was good, but I was struggling to turn it into a win. And I can remember having a sit-down talk with Shorey and kind of saying, I think maybe for the both of us, we need to pull someone in and get some external help to try and get us back to the top level that we both know that we could play at.
What, we rolling, yeah? We're rolling. What, big stamps in the building, yeah. This feels mad. I'm used to being in your position behind the camera. Shorey on camera duty, yeah. Never thought I'd see the day, ever. I'm Marcus Stamp, current #United esports manager. No one calls me Marcus, by the way. Everyone calls me Stampy. So I joined the team quite late this season. I think it was the back end of March, around my birthday time. We were in lockdown, in and out, and I know the boys were struggling a little bit, and I've always loved FIFA. I've always really enjoyed it, and I've said this to the boys so many times. They're the only reason why I still play, because they just make it look so easy. So when I got the call up to basically manage them, I was like, yeah, I'm grabbing that, both hands. and we're just going to see what happens. The main thing for me was basically just being that extra layer of support, like both on and off the pitch. I didn't actually realise I would grow into a sort of coaching role for Tom, but my main thing was just like making sure that they knew that somebody else was in here who was as passionate as them. Maybe not as good, but definitely as passionate. I started asking around the scene for a little bit of advice because I honestly didn't have a clue what I was doing. I got in some mental help as well. I shouted Edgar, who's a mental coach for quite a few players around the scene. And I knew that having Cup 5 literally around the corner, I thought, right, I want to give these boys the best chance of competing. Tom, because at that point, I felt like he was kind of in a little bit of a mental rut. And Shuri, obviously, he had a lot of obstacles throughout his season. I really just if I could do anything, I just wanted him to end on some sort of high.
Cup 5 or what?
Foot Cup 5 was basically the perfect tournament.
It was, wasn't it?
Very close.
Perfection.
Perfect for me.
Based on how my year had went, yeah, it was like perfection for me as well. Sorry, you go on.
Yeah, we went into it full of good spirits, high. I think lockdown had been eased a bit. We started working on ourselves a bit more, going out.
Stampy in the building.
We had Stampy in the building.
Sorting us out.
We did really well. You finished top 9 to 12, which was the highest placement of your year.
Yep, by some distance. Let's laugh at it now, shall we? Now that it's in the past.
Just laugh at the pace.
Just laugh. But no, it was funny because obviously it was the best I'd done. The nice part was when we both went 5-0 on the Saturday, and we both no, we didn't get a Nando's, did we? We didn't get a Nando's because we were supposed to be eating healthy.
Yeah.
So we didn't get a Nando's. But that was a nice feeling. And it's funny because when I actually went out in my game, it was against Boras, I think I was like 2 games off the broadcast. I just turned around and Tom's just finished top 3 again. And it was just like, bro, this guy just does it in his sleep.
I think something goes underrated in FIFA, particularly when you're such heavy teammates. We're definitely not normal FIFA esports players. I mean, look at your trim. But we're definitely not normal esports players, and it's not really noticed how the impact of one person can affect another, even though it is 1v1. Like when I'm seeing Shuri playing well, every game he's bouncing, he's giving me good ideas. He's like, yeah, this is working. I'm flying at the minute. I'm doing the same thing. And when the energy's high, it seems to work really well, bouncing off each other. You finish top 9 to top 12. Same day I managed to secure my 3rd top 3. And I think after that, there was kind of a focus around the whole club. Like, this is Tom's time to finish it off. It was the last Foot Cup. If he doesn't get it now, then we're cursed. I remember the finals day, I was a little bit nervous. Took me back to playing Oliver Roberts, who I mentioned earlier on. Someone that's very, very good. Beat him in the winners final, and then I beat Cosimo, the Italian player, in the winners final. The grand final, should we call it. And yeah, what do you remember about that night? I remember a lot of celebrations and a lot of drinks.
You know what? It was like the whole weekend. We had Neil Warnock in our ear going, by all means enjoy it, but enjoy it by being fucking disciplined.
He's been waiting to drop that line all day.
It's been in my head all day.
All day.
You look back at the whole year and you have ups, you have the downs, whatever. Obviously, we had a lot of lockdown stuff, but it finished, well, my season, that part of my season, and obviously it was the last cup before you had what? You had playoffs coming up and then
E-Nations
as well. But yeah, it felt like somewhat of an end to the season, and it was just a massive high for it. So we had Stampy in the room with us as well, which was just obviously creating the guy just goes around dancing and then takes the mick out of my dancing the whole time. Rightly so, to be fair, but you know.
Foot Cup 5 is definitely a massive, massive highlight of the year. Probably the best weekend we've had, or 2 weekends, considering how the tournaments work. And yeah, strangely enough, things are better when we're winning.
It's a crazy world we live in, isn't it?
Right, so Tom, talk to me about that celebration when that final whistle was blown and you'd won the tournament. How did that feel?
Relief, and a bit more relief. I was happy, but it was more of I felt like a weight had gone off my shoulders. I think I'd been roped in by everyone. Everywhere I went, it felt like every time I was uploading a video, every time I tweeted, people were saying, you need to win. Like, this needs to happen. You need to win. And I could just feel that everywhere. And
it's like you'd already done so much of the celebrating already in like leading up to the final in terms of getting there. That like when you actually won it, it looked more like a weight off your shoulders. Like a whew.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas like E-Prem, I suppose E-Prem was like that as well, but E-Prem you went banged the desk like 6 times.
The thing is, I'm normally a very passionate celebrator. Like, I'm always the one that's shouting and getting up because it does mean a lot. But yeah, that time was more of just a relief. It was just a big weight off my shoulders, and delivering what I felt happened too late. I still feel to this day that I should have had 2 or 3 FUT Cups like wrapped up. But yeah, to at least make sure I had one for the season was what I needed.
Overall, I have to say, like, Cup 5, I don't think it could have gone any more perfect in my eyes. I mean, to come in and have that impact and just see, like, you kind of, in them scenarios, especially when we'd won, you kind of take yourself out of that scenario and you just look at the room and you just think, wow, like, we just created something special here. And to know that hashtag haven't won a major in a long time at that point, and like, I played a role in that win and making that difference and making that piece of history, it was honestly just amazing. I don't think I got home till about 2 a.m. that night. That weekend, I have to say, it would probably go down as one of my favourite in my esports career so far, and it will probably stay up there for a while. The vibes in the room were immaculate throughout the whole tournament. We were all just in high spirits. We were dancing. I got spotted dancing on broadcast on the big EA broadcast on Twitch. And then obviously to win the tournament as well, you kind of like, especially when we were celebrating, you just look back and you just look at the room and you just think, wow, I was part of that history, and that, being able to say that, not a lot of people can, and it really is an amazing feeling.
The playoffs. Playoffs is always a very, very tough tournament because there's such a big break between the normal season and then this massive event where this year, irrelevant of ranking, you had to finish top 9 at the tournament. So whoever was first or whoever was 61st, the full season had now been scrapped, forgotten about, and it was all about who could turn up at the playoffs. I think it always produces some crazy results because players have such a long break and the meta kind of changes and the momentum gone from the regular season. It's just all gone out the window, and now it all comes down to who can perform well on one weekend. Running into the playoffs, I'd seen a load of the top seeds in other regions really, really struggle. So I then very quickly realised that I could fall victim to this curse as well. Within 2 hours of the playoffs started, I was 0-2. I was really struggling. I think I was a bit overwhelmed by the whole tournament and realising that my whole season had come to this moment. And yeah, I didn't really know where to turn next. I knew that one more loss would mean the end of my season. I think this is where the power of coaching came in and the power of Stamps. He kind of had a word to me and said, we're just going to have to go back to basics, really just play the game a bit slower. We're obviously not playing well right now, but we have to deal with that and change things up. For this reason, I made a few changes to my team. I remember bringing Bruno Fernandes in, someone that I'd swore by all year. And then things got cracking very, very quickly. Luckily enough, I pulled myself together after a bit of a meltdown in the office and managed to win 3 games back to back. And then before I knew it, I was out of the group stages and the push for World Cup was on.
A strong, confident start here for Levy as he now finds the feet of Neymar. Little cricket to cancel, and there's R9, and there's the first goal of the game. Modric is going to pick that ball back off of the Ruud Gullit. Now into the feet of Cristiano Ronaldo. He's got that 1v1 opportunity. He goes round Ramos. And now it's 2 for Levy.
What has Tom got left in the tank is going to be my real question. He's gone for several different ways to try and score. He's gone for the player lock crosses. He's gone for the player lock fakes. He's tried to elastico pass the man. He's gone for the 1-2s. It seems like everything has been tried.
Vinicius! He hasn't tried that yet. Inside the last 10 now, Tom has to throw it all forward, but there's Kimmich again. And now there's an overlap. Neymar gets away from his man, squares it for Levy, and there is that 3rd goal. There is the cushion he needed. And you can tell from his celebration that he thinks this is done.
Unfortunately, in knockouts, I still couldn't pick myself up properly. I remember losing to Levy in the first game and it dropped me straight into the loser's bracket. So I was back to where I was used to being, needing to win every game. I remember scraping through a lot of games that day. It really was a fight of mentality and mental strength to make sure that I could get over the line. I won 3 games in extra time and penalties. And after a long day on Saturday, I found myself at the game to qualify for the World Cup. How do you describe a game to qualify for the World Cup? You've put 6 to 7, maybe 8 months of work in, and now it just comes down to 1 game of FIFA. I can honestly say that I played pretty well in the game and I was working my way in, but it was very cagey. There was a lot of mistakes either end, and I think both of the players were kind of feeling the pressure of what we could have potentially won.
Offset, Danny's just going to try and keep the ball a bit more now, just to die the clock down, trying to get that last attack. Unless you can see a clear pass at goal, I don't see him going too forward.
This is it. This is the clear chance. Mbappe! He knows what he needs to do. The ball deep in Tom's half. He's crossed it in. Mbappe is going to pick it up. He squares it, and that is game over. Offset Danny will be booking a place to the FIFA E World Cup Grand Final.
Losing to Danny was really, really tough because I didn't realise at the time that I was going to get a second chance at it the day after. So going from such a low of losing the game to make the World Cup and then having to pick yourself up overnight to go out there and try and do it again was a very, very difficult challenge. And it was one that I knew I had to overcome. And on the day that I had my second attempt, I started off really well against Oliver Roberts and found myself in another game against Gravison to make the World Cup. The Gravison game was one of the biggest regrets of my career. I think going into a game like that and knowing that my whole season was riding on it definitely didn't help, but I didn't deal with the pressure of that very well at all. And I was outclassed, really. It's one of the big regrets that I have. I didn't ever really get going. I didn't ever really look like scoring. And Gravison had his own way. It was pretty humiliating, to be honest. Losing 6-1 in that fashion is definitely going to live with me for a long time.
So how did you actually feel when you heard the events were cancelled?
I'm used to it. I think FIFA 20 was a massive, massive L for me because I was already in a World Cup spot then and playoff spot. This year, E-Nations has been taken away from me. And yeah, I think it's very, very tough to deal with when you have such big events and such big prestige on the line. And particularly when I feel like I've been playing really, really well and I had a chance to solidify myself as one of the best players. Them events being cancelled and taken off me have been really, really difficult to deal with. But in the current world situation, there's a lot bigger problems out there. So it's just something I have to deal with. It's just part and parcel of my life. And hopefully in FIFA 22, we can finally see return of the big events.